Most men waste their lives not because they lack talent, but because they lack focus. They are slaves to distraction, pulled by every noise, every temptation, every weakness. But you are here because you sense the truth. Only ruthless discipline creates an unbreakable focus. Without it, you will remain prey to stronger minds. With it, you will rule your world. I, Niccolò Machiavelli, have studied men who built empires and those who destroyed themselves. The difference was never luck, nor chance. It was discipline. The disciplined man forges his focus like steel, while the undisciplined man scatters his strength until nothing remains. Listen carefully, for I will teach you the ruthless discipline that makes a man unshakable, a fortress against all distraction. The first discipline, the foundation upon which all unbreakable focus is built, is the elimination of trivialities. Listen carefully, for this is where most men stumble and fall. They do not fail because of great catastrophes, nor because of enemies more cunning than themselves. They fail because their energy, their attention, their very life force is wasted in 1,000 small distractions that appear harmless but are, in truth, deadly. Consider how a river carves valleys and moves mountains, yet only when its waters flow in one direction. Scatter those waters into countless shallow streams, and they lose all power. So it is with your mind. Focus, like the river, must be channeled and sharpened. The man who allows himself to be pulled in every direction, answering meaningless messages, engaging in idle chatter, chasing small pleasures, will never gather enough strength to move even a pebble, let alone build a fortress of power. The ruthless discipline required here is not simply in saying yes to the important. It is in saying no to the countless trivialities that knock at your door each day. A man of focus must wield the blade of refusal with precision. He must cut off what does not serve his higher aim, as a surgeon cuts away diseased flesh to preserve the body. Do not mistake this for cruelty. It is necessity, for every moment wasted in trivial pursuit is a theft of the future you could command. Ask yourself, how many hours have you surrendered to the trivial? Hours spent arguing over nothing, hours wasted in empty entertainments, hours given to people who add nothing to your strength. A disciplined man does not allow such theft to continue. He measures his interactions as a merchant measures his coin. He gives his attention only where it multiplies in value. Everything else, he discards without hesitation. You must understand, trivialities often disguise themselves as duties, as obligations, even as kindness. But look deeper. Many so-called duties are merely chains that others fasten to you, draining your time so they may feel important. Many obligations are only distractions painted as virtue, and much of what men call kindness is nothing more than the weakness of not wanting to appear rude. Hear me well, the man who tries to please all will serve all, and in the end, he will own nothing, not even his own time. Therefore, the ruthless man learns the art of refusal. He is not cruel without cause, but he is firm. He speaks little, he commits rarely, and when he does, it is only to matters that align with his chosen purpose. Imagine two men, one accepts every invitation, every task, every interruption. He is busy from dawn until dusk, yet accomplishes nothing of consequence. The other man rejects 90 out of 100 distractions, and the few he accepts he pursues with full intensity. Tell me which man will rise, which man will be respected, which man will carve his name into history. Discipline in this sense requires courage. It is easier to give in to the trivial than to reject it. To say yes is to be liked, to say no is to be feared. Yet it is better to be feared for your focus than to be loved for your weakness. People may complain when you withdraw your time from their trivialities, but secretly they will respect you, for they will see you are not like other men. You are not scattered. You are not enslaved to their petty demands. You are a man who governs himself, and such a man is destined to govern others. Look at the great rulers of history. They were not men who entertained every request, nor men who wasted themselves on the concerns of the small-minded. They understood that attention is the most precious of currencies, and they spent it only where it returned power. You must do the same. If you seek to build unbreakable focus, you must begin with the elimination of trivialities. This is not advice. It is law. Ruthless men are remembered not for what they added, but for what they refused, for the distractions they crushed, for the temptations they cast aside, and for the countless small chains they shattered before they could bind them. The second discipline, which separates the ordinary man from the formidable one, is the discipline of isolation. To the weak, solitude feels like a punishment, a void they are desperate to fill with noise, company, and distractions. But to the strong, isolation is the forge where focus is sharpened and the mind becomes a weapon. Understand this: a distracted man is already defeated, but a man who commands solitude can never be conquered. Throughout history, rulers, generals, and thinkers withdrew from the crowd when clarity was demanded. Julius Caesar did not plan his campaigns in the marketplace. Great philosophers did not discover truth in the middle of drunken laughter. They knew that to build strategies that bend nations, one must retreat from the world long enough to see it clearly. Solitude is not weakness. It is strength. It is the silence in which vision is born. It is the chamber where discipline is refined into unbreakable focus. Men today fear being alone. They drown themselves in endless chatter, worthless entertainment, constant company, because silence terrifies them. They fear meeting their own thoughts. Yet this fear is precisely what keeps them small. A man who cannot sit with his own mind is a man who cannot rule it. And if he cannot rule his own mind, how shall he ever hope to rule anything greater? The disciplined man does not flee from isolation. He seeks it. He enters it deliberately, knowing that in solitude lies the power to concentrate his energy like a blade pressed to the whetstone. Think of your attention as an army. If it is scattered across 10 different fields, it cannot win a single battle. But if you gather it, focus it, and lead it onto one battlefield at a time, it becomes unstoppable. Isolation is the commander's tent. It is where you gather the maps, sharpen the swords, and prepare for war. The man who never withdraws, who is always in company, always distracted, fights blind. He charges into life with dull weapons, no plan, and no strength left in his reserves. The world, of course, will resist your isolation. Men will call you antisocial, cold, detached. They will resent that you withdraw your presence, because your absence reminds them of their dependence on constant distraction. But pay them no mind. Their judgment is proof that you are walking a path they fear to walk themselves. For in truth, the disciplined man must often be misunderstood. His silence will make him seem proud. His retreat will make him appear ruthless. But let them misunderstand, for you are not living to please their weakness. You are training to command your strength. Isolation does not mean permanent exile. It is not the coward's escape from life. It is the warrior's preparation for it. Just as the archer retreats to string his bow before he fires, so must you retreat to string the bow of your focus before you release it upon the world. If you fail to retreat, your arrows will always fall short. But if you master the art of isolation, every arrow you fire will strike with deadly precision. Within isolation, something powerful occurs. Your thoughts, once scattered by the noise of others, begin to align. The fog clears, and you can see what matters and what must be destroyed. The disciplined man uses solitude to weigh his ambitions, to test his strategies, to sharpen his will. This is why so few ever achieve greatness, because so few are willing to endure the silence in which greatness is born. They flee solitude, and so they remain chained to mediocrity. Therefore, you must not merely accept isolation, you must command it. Make it a practice, a ritual, a discipline. Withdraw into silence even when the world demands your presence. Step back into solitude even when society mocks you for it. The undisciplined man fears being alone because he sees nothing in himself worth confronting. The disciplined man embraces solitude because he knows that within himself lies the foundation of power, and only in isolation can that foundation be strengthened. The third discipline, which few men ever master, is the rule of time tyranny. Mark this well. He who does not command his time will be commanded by others. He who treats his hours as infinite will waste them as though they were worthless pebbles scattered on the ground. But the man who sees time as the most precious of currencies guards it with the vigilance of a tyrant, and through that vigilance, he becomes untouchable. Understand this truth: time is the only resource that cannot be restored. Gold can be regained, power can be rebuilt, even health can sometimes be recovered, but an hour lost is an hour buried forever. No power, no cunning, no cruelty can drag it back. And yet, what do most men do? They squander their time as though it were eternal. They let others steal it, they hand it away freely, they poison it with idleness. And then, when their days are short and their years consumed, they weep at their poverty, not realizing they themselves were the thieves who robbed their own lives. The disciplined man cannot afford such folly. He must treat time as a tyrant treats his dominion. A tyrant does not permit waste. A tyrant does not tolerate rebellion. Every hour, every minute, must bow before the authority of purpose. To waste an hour is not merely a mistake, it is treason against yourself. A man who loses control of his time has lost control of his destiny, for destiny is built minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. Look at the week, and you will see men owned by the clocks of others. Their schedules are dictated by every request, every message, every invitation, every meaningless task. They have no control because they do not enforce control. But the ruthless man, the one who is destined to rise, does not ask politely for his time to be respected. He commands it. He declares to the world that his hours are his own, and he defends them as a general defends the walls of a fortress. This requires a discipline most men cannot bear. It means turning away from the endless chatter that eats away at the day. It means refusing to surrender your mornings to distraction or your nights to trivial indulgence. It means assigning every hour to a purpose and enforcing that purpose with cruelty if necessary. You must govern your time with the same iron fist with which a ruler governs his empire. For time is your empire, and if you do not rule it, it will be invaded, plundered, and destroyed by others who care nothing for your future. Consider the man who allows himself to drift. He wakes late, he reacts to every demand. He gives his time freely to those who offer him nothing in return. His life is not his own. It belongs to those who claim his hours, and he becomes a servant without realizing it. Now consider the man of discipline. He rises when he chooses. He works with precision. He dedicates his hours to what builds his strength and extends his power. When others come to steal his time, they find the gates closed, guarded, unyielding. Such a man is not a servant of time. He is its master. This tyranny over time may earn you enemies. Men who waste their own lives will resent you for refusing to waste yours. They will call you cold, arrogant, even cruel, because you will not bend your schedule to their whims. Let them complain. Better to be hated for ruling your time than loved for surrendering it. For the world respects the man who enforces discipline over his hours, even if they do not admit it. They know he is different, that his life is built upon command while theirs is scattered in chaos. In truth, the secret of power lies here, for the man who rules his time rules his actions. The man who rules his actions rules his habits. The man who rules his habits rules his character. And the man who rules his character rules his destiny. All of this begins with the ruthless discipline of time tyranny, of refusing to let a single moment be stolen, wasted, or left unguarded. To command focus, you must first command the hours through which focus breathes. The fourth discipline, and perhaps the most brutal of them all, is the war against weakness. Many men believe their enemies are out there, in rivals, in oppressors, in the unpredictable turns of fate. But the most dangerous enemy is not outside. It is within. It is the whisper that tempts you to rest when you should rise. It is the craving that seeks comfort when you must endure hardship. It is the laziness that persuades you to postpone action until tomorrow. And mark this well: the man who cannot conquer himself will always be conquered by others. History is filled with rulers who commanded armies, but could not command their appetites, and for this reason they fell. A prince may build fortresses, but if he is enslaved by his weakness, he has already left his gates unguarded. No fortress can protect a man from the decay that comes from within. To build unbreakable focus, you must declare war upon your own softness, your own indulgence, your own excuses. This is not a battle fought once. It is a campaign that lasts a lifetime. Each day, weakness seeks to infiltrate your mind, and each day, you must meet it on the battlefield. Weakness wears many disguises. It comes as the sweet lure of distraction, promising a moment's pleasure in exchange for a lifetime of regret. It comes as the soft voice of procrastination, whispering that tomorrow will be easier, when tomorrow brings only greater chains. It comes as the comfort of idleness, offering rest long before rest has been earned. The man of discipline tears off these disguises and sees weakness for what it is: the destroyer of empires, the assassin of ambition, the poisoner of focus. Make no mistake, to wage war against weakness requires ruthlessness. You must strike it down before it gains strength. The moment you feel indulgence rising, you must confront it. When your body begs for ease, you must deny it. When your mind wanders toward temptation, you must drag it back with force. A soldier does not ask his enemy for mercy, neither should you ask weakness for permission. You must meet it with violence, with authority, with absolute refusal to surrender even a single inch of ground. Understand also that weakness is cunning. It will not always attack openly. Often it waits until you are weary, until you are wounded, until your guard is down. Then it strikes with whispers of comfort, telling you that you have done enough, that you deserve to ease your efforts. That is the most dangerous moment, for when a man begins to justify his weakness, he begins to feed it, and the weakness you feed will one day devour you. Discipline demands that you recognize this trap and crush it, even when it comes clothed in the language of kindness toward yourself. But do not mistake this war for hatred of yourself. It is precisely because you value yourself that you must fight. A man at war with his weakness is a man who respects his own potential. He knows he is capable of greatness, and so he refuses to allow softness to chain him. He embraces discomfort not because he loves pain, but because he knows pain is the crucible in which strength is born. He rejects indulgence not because he despises pleasure, but because he understands that pleasure without discipline destroys the man who consumes it. The war against weakness also builds a reputation. Others will see it in you, though they may not speak of it. They will notice the way you resist indulgence when others collapse into it. They will observe how you hold your ground when comfort tempts everyone else to retreat. And in their hearts, they will respect you, even if their mouths deny it. For men secretly admire those who conquer the inner battles they themselves lose daily. In this way, the war against weakness not only builds your focus, it builds your power in the eyes of others. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if weakness had no place in it? If every craving was denied, every temptation crushed, every excuse burned before it could be spoken? Imagine the strength that would be unleashed, the focus that would blaze like fire, the destiny you could forge with such command. That vision is not a fantasy. It is possible, but only for the man willing to wage ruthless war against the enemy that lives within his own skin. The fifth discipline, which separates men of fleeting ambition from men of unshakable power, is the ritual of relentless practice. Do not be deceived. Focus is not a gift handed to the fortunate. It is not granted by chance, nor is it bestowed by fortune. Focus is forged. It is hammered into existence by repetition, by struggle, by the daily ritual of sharpening the mind as a soldier sharpens his blade. If you seek an unbreakable focus, you must be willing to practice it until it becomes not merely a choice, but your very nature. The undisciplined man believes that when he sits to work, his mind should instantly obey. He thinks focus will arrive like a loyal servant, waiting upon him at the moment he desires. When it does not, he grows frustrated and he surrenders. But the disciplined man knows the truth. The mind is not a servant to be called. It is a beast to be tamed, and beasts do not yield willingly. They must be trained through ritual, through repetition, through daily discipline until they learn obedience. Consider the soldier who drills each morning, even in times of peace. Why does he do this? Because he knows that when war comes, instinct will matter more than thought. In battle, there is no time to consider, no time to prepare. Only what has been drilled into muscle and mind will rise. So too with focus. The moments that matter most, the great opportunities, the decisive challenges, will not wait for you to summon discipline. If you have not trained it daily, you will falter when you need it most. But if you have practiced relentlessly, focus will rise within you like a sword drawn from its sheath, ready without hesitation. This practice is not glamorous. It is not a matter of inspiration, nor of waiting for the perfect mood. Relentless practice means sitting at the desk when you do not feel like it. It means reading when the eyes resist, writing when the hand is heavy, building when the spirit is weary. It means returning again and again to the same task, to the same skill, to the same discipline, until it becomes natural, inevitable, unshakable. The man who seeks greatness cannot depend on fleeting bursts of inspiration. He must construct a fortress of habit, and relentless practice is the brick and mortar from which it is built. Many men fail here because they are slaves to comfort. They wish to be skilled without repetition, powerful without training, focused without discipline. They chase novelty because it entertains them, but they abandon practice because it wearies them. They do not understand that novelty builds nothing. It is repetition that sharpens the blade. It is ritual that transforms weakness into mastery. The world belongs not to those who do something once, but to those who repeat it until it cannot be broken. Understand also that relentless practice is not merely external. It is not only the act of laboring at your craft or your studies. It is also the inner practice of commanding your attention when it strays. Each time you drag your wandering mind back to its task, you are training it as a trainer disciplines a wild horse. Each time you resist the urge to check, to pause, to escape into distraction, you are practicing the art of focus. The repetition of this resistance builds strength until one day your focus no longer bends under pressure. It becomes like tempered steel, flexible, but unbreakable. Great men of history were not defined by brilliance alone. They were defined by their rituals. The general rises before dawn to survey his troops. The philosopher writes daily, refining his thoughts with each stroke of the pen. The ruler studies, prepares, drills his court and his armies until they move like extensions of his will. Their greatness was not born from bursts of genius. It was hammered into being by relentless repetition. They practiced until the world could not tell the difference between their discipline and their nature. This is why practice must be a ritual, not an occasional effort. Ritual is sacred, unyielding, unquestioned. A man who treats his practice as optional will break at the first excuse. But a man who treats it as ritual, as law, as something beyond debate, becomes immovable. He no longer asks himself whether he will train, whether he will study, whether he will build. He simply does, because it has become who he is. Relentless practice transforms discipline from an effort into an identity, and once it becomes identity, no force can uproot it. The sixth discipline, without which all the others lose their sharpness, is the art of visible self-control. It is not enough to conquer your distractions in private, not enough to master your weakness in silence. True power demands that your discipline be seen, that it radiates from you as an aura which others cannot mistake. For men are moved not only by what you are, but by what they believe you to be. If they believe you are unshakable, they will bend before testing you. If they sense weakness, they will exploit it without hesitation. Understand that power has two faces, the private and the public. The private face is the battle you fight within yourself, the resistance to temptation, the war against laziness, the ritual of practice. But the public face is what others perceive, and perception is often stronger than reality. A man who appears disciplined commands more respect than a man who secretly is. This is not hypocrisy, it is strategy. For the world judges what it sees, and in the theater of power, appearances can crush or elevate more swiftly than truth itself. This is why rulers of old staged their own restraint as carefully as their victories. A prince who controls his tongue, who eats sparingly while others gorge, who speaks little while others ramble, sends a message sharper than any blade, that he is not like other men. His restraint makes him seem dangerous, because restraint suggests strength that is hidden, strength that is waiting. Those around him may not know how deep his discipline runs, but they will fear to test it, and in their hesitation he wins. The undisciplined man, by contrast, reveals himself at every moment. He cannot hide his impulses. His words spill out uncontrolled, his emotions boil over, his appetites chain him before the eyes of others. He may believe these small indulgences are invisible, but they are not. Every outburst, every lack of restraint, every uncontrolled gesture signals weakness, and weakness, once seen, invites attack. Men do not respect what is easy to provoke. They respect what is unyielding, what resists pressure, what seems carved from stone. Therefore, you must cultivate not only inner control, but the art of displaying that control. When insulted, do not react like the common man, who flares with anger at every slight. Remain composed, and the one who mocked you will tremble. For nothing unsettles the weak like a man who refuses to be provoked. When tempted, do not rush into indulgence as others do. Let your refusal be quiet but visible, and men will whisper of your iron will. When faced with chaos, do not let your movements betray panic. Walk with calm, act with precision, and others will believe you master of every storm. Remember, this control must extend to every outward sign. Your voice should be measured, never hurried. Your posture upright, never slouched. Your eyes steady, never darting with nervousness. These details, though small, are the armor of perception. They convince others that you are governed by a discipline they cannot comprehend. And once they believe this, they will hesitate, defer, and even submit before you lift a finger. But know also that visible self-control is not only for the sake of others. It reinforces the fortress within. When you force yourself to speak with restraint, to walk with poise, to hold your emotions behind iron gates, you strengthen the discipline inside you. The performance becomes reality. By acting controlled, you become controlled. By displaying focus, you deepen your focus. This is why the art of visible self-control is not mere theater. It is a weapon that sharpens both perception and truth at once. History remembers men who carried themselves as if carved from stone. They needed no constant words, no desperate gestures, no frantic explanations. Their silence was power, their restraint was influence, their visible control was command. Even their enemies hesitated, for they sensed that beneath the surface lay a man who could not be shaken. And that, above all, is the mark of unbreakable focus. Not simply to possess it, but to make the world believe, without doubt, that you do. Now you understand the ruthless discipline that builds an unbreakable focus. First, you cut away the trivialities that poison your strength. Then, you enter isolation, withdrawing from the crowd to sharpen your mind. You master time with tyranny, refusing to waste a single moment. You wage war against weakness, crushing every indulgence that seeks to chain you. You embrace the ritual of relentless practice, forging your focus through repetition until it becomes your very nature. And finally, you command the art of visible self-control, projecting discipline so powerfully that others bow before it without resistance. This is the path few will ever walk, because it demands cruelty toward the self and ruthlessness toward the world. But understand this: without discipline, a man is nothing but prey. With discipline, he becomes untouchable, his focus unbreakable, his presence undeniable, his power inevitable. The world does not remember the distracted, the scattered, the weak. It remembers those who built their focus into a fortress, those who ruled themselves with such severity that they were fit to rule others. Be that man, build that focus, and let your discipline carve your name into eternity.